The first time I saw Michael, he stood in the corner of the chapel, hands clasped behind his back, watching me as though he'd been waiting all his life. The air smelled of lilies and candle wax, and my mother whispered that I'd found a man who could make me feel safe. I believed her then. Safety felt like a promise. When I walked down the aisle, he didn't smile right away. He studied me, every step, every breath, like he was memorizing how I moved. Only when I reached him did his lips curl, slow and deliberate, as if he'd decided something about me. His fingers closed over mine, warm but firm, a silent message that said, "You're mine now." Everyone called it devotion. They called it destiny. The ceremony blurred in sunlight and camera flashes. His vows were brief, almost rehearsed. "I will protect you. I will never let you go." The guests sighed, thinking it was romance. But the way he held my hand, tighter with every word, made something inside me flicker between love and unease. I convinced myself it was passion. I was 23 and desperate to believe in forever. Afterward, at the reception, he never left my side. He guided my movements through the crowd, introduced me to everyone as my wife, not Claire. I noticed the difference, but I smiled anyway because that's what wives do. They smile and stay close. That night, he whispered against my neck, "You're safe with me, always." His voice was soft, but it felt like a lock clicking shut. I didn't understand it then, that safety and freedom can't live in the same house. Years later, I still remember the glint in his eyes when he said it. Not love, something steadier, colder. Possession. People say every marriage has secrets, that every couple hides cracks beneath the photographs and dinner parties. But ours began with one, the kind that blooms quietly, like mold behind a picture frame, invisible until it takes over everything. Sometimes I replay that wedding video in my head. The applause, the white dress, his smile too still, too certain. I used to think it was pride. Now I know it was victory. They called us perfect. They said we had it all, the dream home, the laughter, the life others envied. But even on that first day, I think some part of me knew. Love wasn't what bound us. It was the vow, and the unspoken threat hidden inside it. The first argument wasn't loud. It was the kind that slips through the air like smoke, invisible, choking. Dinner was ready, candles lit, the table arranged the way Michael liked, symmetrical, quiet, perfect. I'd spent an hour folding the linen napkins into neat triangles, the way I'd seen in magazines. When he sat down, he picked one up, turned it over, and frowned. "They should be squared," he said simply, not looking at me. I began, but he cut in. "You thought wrong." His knife scraped against the plate, that slow metallic drag that made my chest tighten. Then just as quickly he smiled. "It's fine. You'll remember next time." I nodded, pretending it didn't sting, pretending the air hadn't gone colder. That night I wrote it down. The first entry in what would become my secret ritual. Napkins. Smile afterward. Don't defend yourself. I told myself it was just a way to remember what made him happy. I didn't yet understand that happiness in our house was a performance, mine for him. His moods came in tides. Sometimes he was gentle, buying flowers and pressing them between the pages of books, saying Cece's love lasts when you care for it. Other times, he'd go silent for days, a shadow moving from room to room, watching me without speaking. And then, as if nothing had happened, he'd touch my cheek and whisper, "I only get upset because I care too much." He apologized often, but his apologies were polished, practiced lines from a play we never stopped performing. "I'm sorry," he'd say, his hand brushing mine. "You know I hate when things aren't right." And I'd whisper back, "I'll do better." By the end of that year, the journal was thick with repetition. His temper, my compliance, our cycle of tenderness and tension. Every page smelled faintly of rosewater and ink, evidence of love rewritten to fit his version of perfect. Sometimes, when he left for work, I'd stand at the kitchen window and trace the faint crack in the picture frame holding our wedding photo. It split right through our smiling faces, a thin, crooked line between us. I never fixed it, because deep down, I think I knew it wasn't just the glass that was breaking. It was me. It was raining the night Ethan showed up. The kind of steady, whispering rain that turns streets into mirrors and memories into ghosts. I remember the knock, soft but persistent, and the way Michael froze mid-sentence, the wine glass halfway to his lips. Who could that be? I asked. He didn't answer. His face had gone pale. The warmth drained away like the light under a storm cloud. When he finally opened the door, the man standing there smiled awkwardly. "Michael," he said. "It's been a long time." Ethan looked rough around the edges. Wet jacket, tired eyes, a smudge of road dust on his collar. He wasn't a stranger to Michael, but in that moment he became one to me. Michael's hand tightened on the doorframe. "Ethan," he muttered, "you shouldn't be here." Their exchange was brief, clipped. I caught words, accident, my still looking, never proven. When I asked who he was, Michael simply said, "An old friend." Passing through, but Ethan didn't seem like someone passing through. His eyes lingered on Michael too long, on the house, on me. "You've built quite the life," he said. "Looks perfect." That night, Michael barely spoke during dinner. He kept glancing at the window as if expecting another knock. When I reached across the table to touch his hand, he flinched. The first time he'd ever done that. After Ethan left, I found Michael outside, standing in the garden under the rain. "What did he mean, never proven?" I asked. He turned slowly. "Nothing. He likes to talk." His tone was flat, practiced. "Forget it, Claire. He's trouble." But I couldn't. The next morning I found Ethan's business card tucked into one of my gardening books. No name, just a number. I hadn't put it there. For days afterward, Michael's behavior changed. He began checking the locks twice, staring too long at headlights passing by. He wanted to know where I went, who I spoke to. "You can't be too careful," he said with a strained smile. "The past has a way of finding you." I wanted to ask what passed, but I didn't. Instead, I wrote in my journal, "Ethan came." Michael changed. I think I'm afraid of the man I married. That night, I dreamed of a car screeching through rain, headlights slicing through fog, and Michael's voice whispering. It was an accident. It began with a scream. Mine. The argument had been brewing all week, sharp words hidden beneath polite tones, smiles stretched too thin. But that night something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the silence that had settled between us like rot. "I can't do this anymore, Michael," I said, my voice trembling. "I feel like I'm disappearing." He stared at me across the kitchen table, his jaw tight, eyes burning with something close to fear. "Don't say that. I'm leaving," I whispered. The words hung there like a verdict. His chair scraped violently against the tile as he stood, knocking over his glass. Red wine spilled across the floor, the same deep color that had once stained our wedding bouquet. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, his breath quick and uneven. "Claire, you can't." His voice cracked. "You promised me forever." Forever isn't supposed to feel like this. For a moment, he looked like a child lost in a storm, eyes wet, hands shaking. Then to my shock, he dropped to his knees. "Please," he said. "Don't go. We can fix it. We can fix us." I wanted to hate him, but instead I felt the pull, that strange magnetic guilt he always stirred in me. He was crying, and the sound of it broke me open in ways I couldn't explain. I knelt too, the cold floor pressing against my knees. "Michael," I said softly, "we can't keep pretending everything's fine." He cupped my face with trembling hands. "It's not pretending if we make it real." We sat there for hours, 2 broken people trying to make sense of love through exhaustion and alcohol. He poured another glass, his words slurring with desperation. "They think they can hurt us, judge us, control us. But we're stronger than them. We always have been." "Who?" I asked, confused. "Everyone," he said. "People like Ethan, the ones who try to destroy what we built." His eyes locked on mine, intense, pleading, unhinged. "We could stop them, Claire. We could take control." "You and me," I laughed weakly. "You sound crazy." He leaned closer, voice low, hypnotic. "Crazy is loving someone so much you'd burn the world for them. You feel it too, don't you?" Something in me twisted. Fear, pity, and something darker too. The part of me that wanted to matter to him, no matter the cost. "Promise me," he whispered. "Promise we'll never be powerless again." "No one hurts us without paying for it." I hesitated, then nodded. "I promise." The clock struck midnight. The wine had dried into a dark stain on the floor, one we'd both step over for years to come. He kissed my forehead and smiled, the same still certain smile from our wedding day. "Then it's us," he murmured. "Till death do us part." I didn't realize until later that he meant it literally. The night Ethan died, the air felt too still, the kind of silence that warns of something irreversible. Michael said it had to be done. His voice was calm, too calm, as he adjusted his gloves in the dim garage light. "He's going to ruin us, Claire. You know that, don't you?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. My heartbeat drowned out everything. The hum of the engine, the rain tapping against the windshield, even my own conscience. Michael drove with both hands steady on the wheel. He'd planned it perfectly. The turn, the timing, the darkness thick enough to hide the truth. Ethan's headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, a lonely pair of eyes chasing us down the empty road. "Stay calm," Michael said. "You trust me, right?" I wanted to answer, but my throat burned. When the moment came, that impossible second where he turned the wheel and Ethan's car swerved off the slick curve, I didn't scream. I couldn't. Metal screamed for me instead. The crash echoed through the trees, followed by silence, a silence that devoured everything. We stopped a few yards away. Michael's hands shook for the first time as he looked at me. "We did what we had to. We." The word felt heavy, binding. He stepped out to finish it, to make sure. I watched from the passenger seat, my breath fogging the glass, my fingers pressed to the dashboard. His silhouette moved like a shadow swallowed by another. Then just before he walked back, I saw the faint glow of flame. The car had caught. When he opened the door and slid back beside me, he smelled of gasoline and rain. "It's done," he said. "No one will know." I looked down. My palms were black with oil. I had touched the tools, handed him the wrench, wiped something from his cheek. The line between helping and committing blurred until it didn't exist at all. I cried then, quietly, the way you do when something inside you fractures, not breaks. He reached for me, his thumb brushing away the tears. "Don't," he whispered. "You did this for us. For love." And somehow I believed him. Because in that moment, as the smoke rose in the distance, he looked at me the way he used to, as if I was his entire world again. It didn't feel like horror. Felt like closeness, like trust reborn in the dark. That night, when we drove home in silence, I caught my reflection in the window, pale, trembling, unrecognizable. I wasn't the woman who'd married him anymore. I was the woman who stayed. The morning after Ethan's funeral, Michael made pancakes. The smell of butter and sugar filled the kitchen as if nothing had changed, as if death hadn't left fingerprints on our walls. He smiled when I entered, a wide, boyish smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We should eat," he said. "Keep our strength up." I sat across from him, watching the syrup bleed into the cracks of the pancakes, wondering if Ethan's blood had seeped into the earth the same way, slow, unstoppable. My fork trembled when I lifted it, but Michael caught my hand midair and squeezed it gently. "You did what you had to. Don't forget that, Claire. You're strong now, strong." The words scraped my throat like broken glass. At first I thought the laughter returning to our house meant healing. We'd eat together again, talk late into the night, sometimes even dance in the living room like newlyweds. Michael said it was rebirth, but every smile felt rehearsed. Every touch a reminder of the stain between us that soap could never wash away. Then one night, I heard it, a whisper. My name, so soft it could have been wind, Claire. I froze, the knife in my hand hovering above a half-sliced tomato. Michael was upstairs, shower running. I turned, half expecting to see Ethan standing there, pale, dripping with rain and betrayal. But there was nothing, only the ticking clock and the soft hiss of the faucet. I told Michael later, my voice shaking. He didn't look surprised. "It's your mind, love," he said, brushing my hair back. "It's purging weakness. Guilt is the language of the powerless." He said it so gently I almost thanked him. But the whispers didn't stop. They followed me, through the hallway, in the garden, even behind my eyelids. I started writing again in the journal I'd once hidden from him. Words spilled out like confession. I think he's still here. I think I'm the one haunting this house. Michael found it. That night, he burned the pages in the sink, one by one, his expression calm. "We don't look back," he murmured, holding me as the flames reflected in his eyes. "You belong to now." To me, I didn't resist. I just watched the paper curl, blackening into ash, until I couldn't tell whether it was my words or my soul turning to smoke. Later, in the dark, his arm draped over me felt less like comfort and more like ownership. The whispers quieted, but only because I no longer trusted my own mind enough to listen. And still, somewhere deep within me, a voice not my own whispered back, "You'll never be clean again." The headline appeared 3 weeks after Ethan's funeral. Local man's death raises questions, evidence. Inconsistent with accident report. Michael was silent when he read it, jaw tight, fingers drumming against the wooden table. I watched his reflection in the glass of the window, the flicker of fear quickly masked by composure. "They always dig," he muttered. "They smell guilt like blood in the water." The journalist's name was David Kerr. I recognized him from TV, sharp suits, cold eyes, the kind of man who treated tragedy like sport. That night, Michael poured whiskey and said softly, "If he keeps pushing, everything we've built will collapse. He'll ruin us. Us." That word, once sacred, now sounded like a chain. He started pacing, ranting about self-defense, loyalty, and destiny, all the words he used when he wanted me to obey. But something in me shifted as I watched him. His panic wasn't about justice. It was about losing control. When he finally looked at me, there was desperation, not love. "You understand what needs to be done," he whispered. "You're stronger now. You can help me, help him." That used to mean silence, submission, but this time it meant something darker, something mine. I agreed without hesitation, not because I loved him, but because I wanted to feel that strange electric power again, the kind that burned away fear and turned it into purpose. I followed Kerr for days. He was predictable. Same cafe every morning, same route home. He lived alone, no wife, no one waiting for him. I studied him like Michael once studied me. When the night came, it rained, the kind of cold, relentless rain that made streets glisten like mirrors. I parked 2 blocks away, walked through the alleys, and waited by his car. My hands didn't shake. I had planned every detail. The broken light, the timing, the silence between breaths. It wasn't rage that guided me. It was clarity. When it was done, I watched the water wash his blood toward the gutter. There was no guilt this time, no whispers, no trembling. Only a strange calm. For the first time in years, I felt like myself. When I told Michael, he stared at me. Not proud, not angry, just unsettled. "You're learning too well," he said finally, voice low. "You were supposed to need me." I smiled, a small, tired smile. "Maybe I still do, but not in the way you think." That night, he didn't touch me. He sat awake by the window, watching the rain, his reflection fractured by the glass. The balance had shifted. He knew it, and so did I. Our pact had bound us through love once. Now it bound us through fear. And yet, as I lay in the dark listening to the rhythm of the rain, I realized something terrifying. The second sin hadn't destroyed me. It had completed me. It started with a flicker on the screen, a faint static hum when I opened Michael's old laptop. I wasn't looking for secrets. I was searching for distance, for distraction. But curiosity, like guilt, always finds a way to bloom in the dark. The folder was titled Us. Inside, hundreds of files, each marked by date, each carrying a sliver of our life. Our home, our faces. The first video opened to the sound of my own laughter, sharp and nervous. Then came the crack of his voice, low, controlling. "Say it again," he demanded. "Say you'll never leave." I froze. The frame showed me at the kitchen table, trembling, whispering something I couldn't bear to hear. I fast-forwarded months, years, watching myself dissolve into someone else, one argument, one tear, one bruise at a time. And then, Ethan, the camera angle changed. The garage, my hands shaking on the wrench. Michael whispering, "Now, love, now." The entire murders are packed and recorded. Every whisper, every tear immortalized in digital silence. I covered my mouth, choking on air. This wasn't devotion. It was documentation, proof of obedience. When he came home that night, I was waiting in the dark. The monitor still glowed between us, his masterpiece. He stopped at the doorway, eyes narrowing. "You shouldn't have seen that," I stood. "You filmed everything." His face didn't change. "I had to. You forget things. You rewrite what happened. I just wanted the truth." "The truth?" My voice cracked, trembling between fury and disbelief. You didn't want truth, Michael. You wanted proof that you owned me. He took a step closer. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? I whispered, tears burning my eyes. You recorded my breakdowns like trophies. You didn't love me, you collected me. For a moment, he looked almost human. Ashamed, maybe. Then the mask returned. I saved us, he said quietly. Without me, you'd be nothing. Something inside me broke, not loudly, but like glass cracking beneath pressure. I closed the laptop slowly, each click echoing like a gunshot. You're right, I said, voice flat. Without you, I'd be nothing. But with you, I'm worse. He didn't follow when I walked past him, didn't speak as I left the room. But I felt his eyes on me, recording still, even without the camera. That night, I didn't sleep. The house buzzed with invisible eyes. And for the first time, I began planning not how to survive him, but how to end the story entirely. The evening began like all the others. Quietly, beautifully, deceptively. The table was set with precision. Every plate aligned, every candle trimmed to equal height. Michael stood at the counter, sleeves rolled up, humming the same song he'd played at our wedding. His voice was steady, almost serene. You always said we should have more nights like this, he murmured without turning. Just us. His tone was gentle, but I heard the edge beneath it, that quiet finality that comes before a storm. I nodded, hands trembling as I laid the napkins. The red wine glowed under the chandelier like spilled blood. Neither of us mentioned the argument from the night before, the one where he'd grabbed my wrist and said, "If you leave, you die mine." He had meant it. I had believed him. But I'd also made my own preparations. He poured the wine. I watched him tilt the bottle, his hand lingering just a second too long over my glass. The faintest ripple crossed the surface, invisible to anyone but me. I smiled. You always pour too much, he looked up, eyes gleaming. You always drink it anyway. We sat across from each other, a perfect reflection of the couple we once pretended to be, polite, adoring, doomed. I raised my glass, my hand steady now. To us, I said softly, he echoed me. To forever, the glasses clinked. The sound was crisp, final. For a while, we just talked. About the house. The neighbors. The future we both knew we wouldn't live to see. Each sip was a countdown. Each smile a lie. The poison in my glass burned less than the words between us. He leaned back, watching me. You really thought you could outsmart me, didn't you? I tilted my head, feigning confusion. What do you mean? His smile faltered. His throat twitched. I saw the realization dawn on him, too late. The irony was perfect. He'd poisoned me, and I'd done the same. You. He gasped, clutching his stomach. You knew. I set my glass down gently, the stem ringing against the table. Of course I knew, I whispered. I learned from the best. His hand reached across the table, desperate, trembling. Claire, we were supposed to, stay together, I finished for him. Till death do us part. He laughed once, a dry, broken sound, before collapsing sideways, the chair crashing against the floor. The room tilted, spun, my vision blurred, the candle stretching into smears of gold and red. I sank beside him, my head resting against his chest. His heartbeat stuttered, fading beneath my ear. It's funny, I murmured. All that control, all that fear. And this is how we end equal. His fingers twitched once against mine. Then nothing, as darkness crept in. I looked at our reflection in the wine-stained glass. Two faces, still and peaceful, framed by candlelight. At least we kept our promise, I whispered. The candles flickered. The house fell silent, and somewhere deep within, I felt the vow finally break. The house stood empty for months after they died, sealed behind yellow tape that fluttered like faded ribbons in the wind. Inside, the air still carried the faint scent of wine and wax. The dining table remained as it was found. 2 plates, 2 glasses, 1 overturned chair. Detective Harris stepped carefully through the quiet rooms, his gloves dusted with age and dust. They called this love, he muttered, flipping open a notebook. On the counter lay Claire's journal, its edges curled and ink smudged. The last line read, he said forever. I believed him. In the basement, they found the recordings, hours of footage showing their lives unraveling. Every confession, every scream, every whispered apology. On the tapes, Michael's voice was calm, almost clinical. Claire's voice trembled but softened each time he said her name. Together, they narrated their descent. Lovers turned accomplices. Accomplices turned enemies. By the time the evidence reached the media, the story had a name: the Pact couple. News anchors spoke their names with a mix of fascination and horror. Talk shows dissected their toxic devotion, their shared psychosis. But none of them mentioned the quiet moments, the hand-holding after nightmares, the way Claire still cooked his favorite meal days before their deaths. The world turned their tragedy into entertainment. The house was sold at auction 6 months later, freshly painted, floors sanded clean. The realtor called it a property with history. The new owners moved in just before spring. Their daughter, Lily, loved exploring the corners of the house, the creaky stairs, the hidden crawl spaces. One afternoon, while chasing her toy beneath the dining table, she noticed a loose plank. She pried it up with curious fingers and pulled something from the darkness. A faded photograph, curled at the edges. A man and woman stood side by side, smiling for the camera. Their hands were clasped, faint stains of red along their knuckles like smeared paint. Lily stared for a moment, puzzled but intrigued. She brushed the dust away, revealing their faces more clearly. So happy, so still. "Mom?" she called. "Who are these people?" Her mother didn't answer right away. She only glanced at the photo, frowned slightly, and said, "Probably the last owners. Just put it back, sweetheart." Lily nodded. But instead of returning it, she tucked it under her pillow that night. And as the lights dimmed, she whispered into the dark, "They look like they're still in love."